The clip. The clip shows my table on an art fair that I've joined in Lisbon last weekend. It was often fun, especially on Sunday, because on Saturday I only took my dolls to sell, that was the purpose, and I thought that would be enough. But after a visit of a friend who told me that I should take everything or as much as possible in order to show off and to grab people's attention, um, overnight from Saturday to Sunday, and because I had left the dolls there on the exhibition place, I was bold enough to endure carrying a little bit more. So I took the paperclip bus I'm doing, because somehow the whole idea became again the showing off the recycling paper or recycling history through paper, although I didn't wrote that or said it anywhere within the 2 days of my participation there. But anyhow, I think people might have understood. And also I took some of the paintings that I'm going to exhibit in July, also in Lisbon, on another place. And indeed, as people get somehow caught on when you go somewhere and see an artist doing his trade, or his métier, one gets somehow caught. And with that purpose, I took some things to do. And I don't know if it worked, because whilst I was working, I wasn't really watching what people were looking at. But it was interesting. I was expecting, I must say, to sell at least one, but I didn't. Although in the end of the weekend, when I came back home, it did felt like I had sold everything. That was an interesting feeling. So it tells me that overall I was rather happy. I think it was terribly important to be there with my works and to be able to show and to speak and to, even for my own personal experience as a person, not as an artist, but to be there and try to reach out for others instead of just being seated and waiting for something to happen. It was interesting to test and to test people, like will they come to me, or if I say something, will they come? Will they how will they react? It's a bit like working on a tilt on a supermarket, which I did some time ago, but apparently totally forgot the experience. Again, the most important thing was to it's to show off somehow, but to speak about the passion, and to speak about to demonstrate my artworks with words. And the first thing I would say to people, was that they could touch, because I think it was terribly important and interesting that they were able to touch. And that's one of the things that people can't do through my Etsy shop, obviously, because they can't touch anything, and thus I understand the somewhat reluctance of buying from me. On that market, people could touch, but that didn't generate sales. Didn't surprise me, actually, because I know how somehow people are especially in this country, that are rather either interested but moneyless, like me, or I don't know, lots of possibilities, and they weren't expensive at all, so that wasn't a problem, I'm sure. I got acquainted with some people from abroad. There was a few tourists, and some of them generated terribly interesting chats, including a guy who looked a bit strange. I was a bit intimidated by him. He was rather butched, and the second or third sentence he said, after like staring at my thing silently, was that we could work together. And I was like, whoa. Within the next half an hour we were best friends already, and he also works with paper mache. He does wonderful kind of tribal art. He's from Cape Verde, and was really interesting, that exchange, because when I came home, totally opened up or answered my question toward what to do with my dolls or my figures as upcoming sculptures. In order to participate in this fair, in this art fair, with my dolls, I of course had to have dolls, which I didn't, or my invitation figures, because that was what I inscribed myself to sell there. And within the almost 2 weeks prior to the event, I was able to make 5, all with casts and truc machin, but I was only able to make 5 of these chaps. In the meantime, and not because I was fed up with dolls, but, paper mache have this drying process and blah blah blah, I've, of course, engaged myself on other projects. One of the projects was this box. I was wanting to create a box to serve as, a money box, to put the money inside, or precisely to put my business cards inside. And again, with the idea of the Baroque kind of thingy, I've kind of started to construct this. Actually, I didn't construct the box, because the box is a cardboard tea box, and I just covered it with papercrete paste. So the thing that you see in gray, dark gray, is the tea box. Afterwards, I made this frame out of cardboard and also covered with papercrete. And then suddenly I thought, because of course I wanted a Baroque design, the thing was that I didn't know what to do. So I've kind of searched on again, my JPEG collection to search for inspiration, and I thought somehow, of course I wanted something like Louis XV style, with those legs and this and that and very glittery and very posh and this and that, blah blah blah. But I knew in my heart that I wasn't able to do that, and because I don't have the materials or the skills or the patience or whatever, and also that it's pointless to do, because it was already done. And again, I'm not within the 18th century, and I don't want to be within the 18th century. I don't want to revive as faithful as possible, the 18th century. I want to give a sense of my perspective of Baroque art on my art. So it's like translating or flavoring my things with Baroque kind of subjects. And one of them was, for example, those, I don't know the English name, it's Kariatic, I think, Kariach. That comes from the Greeks, the Greek art. And I thought it would be nice or interesting, or visually interesting, or plastically interesting to use my doll molds on doing Kariatic or Kariach or whatever the name is. And so I made these, so the heads, you have the heads and the torso, and I thought could be again within the idea of making Louis XV kind of feet, which I still can actually now that I'm looking at it, with some, more something. And then I wanted a golden paint, but I couldn't find any because I really wanted some golden paint. But the thing I found was a very shitty chrome gold paint, which looks like as shit as this. Looks like, well, it is old gold and it's not shiny at all. And it was fucking expensive. But again, that somehow helped me to digest the whole thing and to use, okay, I don't have gold sheet. That's very expensive. There are some cheap ones my companion has, but that's very difficult to apply. So I was able to get a paper that is like aluminium foil but in gold, and I thought about doing some semi-bubbles and covering those bubbles randomly covering them with that paper, and that's the result. And for the front, I imagined this. Again, this is one of the faces from my dolls, but covered with aluminum foil, the normal color. This is again the same paper I used on these balls or half balls. This is toilet paper rolls covered with metallic gold paint. These is again dust. So again the faces are dust, the half balls are dust. This is dust, and this is paper mache with dust. For these, I wanted to imitate lapis lazuli, which is one of my favorite crystals. Within this idea of mixing, of giving an aspect of something, kind of changed also my perspective, because another thing I wanted to do, but I didn't have time, was a self-portrait on a Baroque frame. So I started to construct this out of a normal commercial canvas in cardboard. I started to create this because I wanted my Baroque selfie there, painted in oils there, and here the logo of my Royal Dolls, and then something very Baroque or Rococo around with some extra things out, I don't know, some angels or some flowery something. But now, after appreciating my work on the box, everything's possible. Because yes, I will use some flowery and some angels and whatever Baroque fills my inspiration with, but of course I won't paint them with real gold, or I won't do the Baroque kind of cheeks, whatever. it will be Baroque, but it will be Pedro Rodriguez Baroque. So we'll see what's coming, or what will come, if I ever finish it, which I hope so. Another idea to put on display on the art fair would be a doll, a bit more extravagant than the others, and I was planning to make a flag bearer. I found online incredibly interesting flag bearers prints from the Renaissance. I think they are German, and it's those poses with a huge kind of swan belly, and those ruffs, which I love. And I thought, why not joining those Renaissance things within my Baroque figurines. So I started to make this one. Plus, the idea would be like, okay, you have these ones for 30 euros. They are nice, but they are a bit boring. But I can also make something a bit more, if you are willing to pay more. The thing was, I wasn't able to finish it, and didn't went on display, although I used it as my window shop, because this was what I was working on throughout the whole Sunday. My idea is to join, not within the Baroque kind of attire, like a big wig or a tricorne, a juste au corps, breeches, something like modern boots, like a motard or steampunk boots, and well, as I said, the Renaissance ruff within the 18th century three-horn. He even has a small kind of earring like the pirates, but you can't see it from here. Of course, there's still lots of to do. I want to make the golden thingy on his coat, and then finally I've on top of his genital area he has a little bow. For me it signifies something like a bunny, something like fluffy but highly active. After doing the golden decoration on his juste au corps, I'm planning to glue this belt. And because meeting this chap from Cape Verde was really helpful, because again I feel more at ease on just adding materials, that not just adding other epochs within my Baroque kind of thingy, but also to add found objects within the sculpture. And yesterday I was just coming from the local cafe, and I found tiny pieces of broken glass from a green bottle just over the road, and I thought, that would look terribly interesting on my on the sash of my future gentleman. So when here where you see green, after it'll be attached to the figure, it will have some mosaic of green glass. This kind of, it's not a sash, it has a name, but I can't remember. Yesterday I've cut the small pieces of crochet, crochet, old gold crochet thread, and glued on the green thing. The green thing is obviously a piece of paper that I've previously painted in green, and thus still lots to do, but it's interesting and fun to think that all that implementation of other things, to construct. I'm also planning that the bases will be rather different, although kind of the same, but with somewhat this construction that might cause some distraction from the figure, but I hope it will create something big. Within that idea, to kind of travel from doll making into a proper sculpture, or sculpture making, if there is any difference anyway, I'm planning to make at least one sculpture dedicated to King John V's childhood, that somehow represents it. And the main idea I won't tell you yet, but the main structure will be his doll figure posing on top of this ball. For this ball, which has been a pain in the ass to do, I've covered a rubber ball in paper mache, and now has a coat of dust. Where you see white, it's dust. Where you see this, it's obviously newspaper. So I tried halves and halves, and don't work, because when I mix both, when I join both, they don't match. So last night my current attempt is, so I covered the whole ball in newspaper strips with glue, and I'm giving a slight layer of dust. Now when the dust will be dried, I will make a cut here and try to remove the rubber ball inside. Why to remove? Because I need the ball, and I don't want it, well, it's not that heavy, but I do need the ball for the next time, although I may buy another one. But anyway, because I need a wire that goes through the ball, so I can't have the rubber inside. So yeah, wish me luck. I will. And speaking of fun, other fun, I'm now planning to work with paper crepe, because it has already color, and it's funny because when you wet paper crepe, kind of the color dilutes a bit like watercolor. So I'm guessing that it will bring lots of fun textures and color effects to my figures. Although toilet paper, sometimes when one represents, it's not silk, what's the word? Lace, kind of has that kind of texture, which is really nice. But so maybe I just swap and play around, and sometimes I use toilet paper for lace and then the crepe paper for tights, for example. Tights. Yesterday, and because I called this hugely huge extended video a vlog, just to tease myself, because vlogs are just yesterday I finally made silicone casts of some new faces I want to use, and even I made cast of some shoes. You see it? Can you see it? Yes, shoes. What? 18th century female shoes. Yes. I'm also working on restoring a neighbor's old Jesus, but I can't show you, it's a secret. And soon enough I'll start doing a fabulous doll for a fabulous idea, which I can't tell you neither because it's also a secret. I think I told you everything already. Besides that I'm craving for a studio, a working place, something apart from this house, apart from that little table over there. Because again, I'm not living alone and it's unbearable. So if you are a sponsor, please consider sponsoring me. Please. Please. Namaste. You can watch other videos from this channel if you subscribe, or sorry, the shaking because the cat just means on top of the table. Attila, olha, look, Attila, look. And of course you can visit my sculpture dolls website at www.myroyaldolls.wix.com/myroyaldolls. Join me on Instagram at Che Pedro Rodrigues. Visit my Etsy shop at www.etsy.com/shop/Chez Pedro, en français like Chez Pedro, and many other things like sending me an email or sending me a donation via PayPal or stuff like that. Cool stuff, huh? Namaste. Wait, there's more. Today, within 3 hours, there will be a signature ceremony where from which I will be finishing my secondary school, or high school I think it's called, almost after 20 years. Isn't that great? I feel so much more, important and whatever. Namaste.